Colonel Jeff Cooper, and I didn't want to mess up this quote. Cooper, if you don't know, wrote The Art of the Rifle. He created what is now the Front Sight Training Institute down in the Southwest. And I thought this was perfect. It's always been one of my favorite quotes. The rifle itself has no moral stature, since it has no will of its own. Naturally, it may be used by evil men for evil purposes, but there are more good men than evil, and while the latter cannot be persuaded to the path of righteousness by propaganda, they certainly can be corrected by good men with rifles. And that's the only thing that's true about this debate. The only thing that's going to stop a bad man with a gun in a place like Sandy Hook Elementary School is a good man with a gun. You're going to hear from so many great people today, and I don't want to repeat what they're saying, but there's an argument I've been hearing that I want to put to rest, and some of you are nice enough to email me or call me and say, well, what would you say to your friends who say this? There are people who will tell you or ask you, why do you need to have an AR-15? That's right. I have 3 of them. Not a one of them has killed anybody, and as long as I keep them in my safe, not a one of them is going to kill anybody. They might kill a few coyotes, but nothing else. But I want to tell you something. I'm going to give you an answer to this if you don't have it already, and some of you already know this. We have a right. The founders of this country threw off tyranny. The words of the Constitution and the Declaration are important to remember today, and they're just as valid today. No matter what the technology, as Bill pointed out, no matter what the technological changes, they are just as valid today. They threw off tyranny, and they were smart enough to look 250 years in the future to today and say someday the same tyranny that we threw off over the seas might actually come back to us, not from outside our borders, but from inside our borders. Yep. When somebody asks you this, why do you need it? Here's my answer. I have a right. And that right is written in the Constitution. And with rights come costs. Bill mentioned the pornography that invades your home inadvertently because of the internet. That's one of the costs of freedom. When people like me get on the radio, we say things I'm sure I've offended at least one of you once, sometime in the last 20 years. And if I haven't, I'll get around to it. That's one of the costs of freedom. But here's what we do with rights. 50 years ago, a woman refused to give up her seat in the front of a bus, not because she needed to be in the front of the bus, but because she had a right to be treated like everyone else. Yeah. If you go to church, you do not have to explain to anybody, least of all your government that is supposed to serve you, why you need to go to church, why you need to worship God, because you have a right to worship God, and they can't take it away. Yeah. And when I go to work, because my workplace respects my Second Amendment rights, I carry a gun every day. When I go to a shopping mall or to church, when I go to a cinema, when I watch a movie, when I walk around in public, I carry a gun, and I could give you 1,000 great reasons to have the gun with you that I could say are my need. But I don't even need to get to that, because I don't need to state a need to my government to justify my rights. I have a right to carry a gun, and the government won't and shouldn't take it away from me or you or anyone else in this great country. Thank you so much for being patriots, and thanks for showing up on a cold day like today and supporting the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. Thank you. It's my distinct pleasure